Welcome back to Swayam course on Design Thinking and Innovation. This is week 11. We're looking at a very interesting case study called Marbo, done by MDes students at IIT Bombay. Design process used in the Marbo makes use of many prototyping techniques. It also makes use of ideation through metaphors. Okay, and it has come out with very interesting solutions, and Marbo is meant for children. Basically, it's sharing of marbles, and these marbles sharing are actually data units. Okay, so it's a very interesting and unique case study. So let's have a look at it. So it's week 11, section C11. So as I mentioned, the name of the case study is called Marbo, Ideation through Metaphors and Making Use of Many Prototyping Techniques. And it also follows the design thinking and innovation process. So let's look at the course for week 11. We've gone through the prototyping techniques, the process for it, followed by the tools that are necessary for doing the prototyping part 1, and then applied through sketches, paper prototypes, mock-ups, scenarios and storyboarding, followed by this case study called as Marbo. So this case study is a design of a communication system or a device to build closeness or trust between people. Okay, so the byline is from people to people, from close friends to strangers. If you can actually make the connection, nothing like it. The project is called as Marbo. Basically, it means that share marbles with strangers. So the team, which consisted of the MDes students, Amisha Bankar, who has a background in applied arts, Muthukumar, who is from architecture, and Pranav Mistry, he had an engineering background with computer science. So it was a collaborative effort between the 3 students with mentors. Okay, so it went through the design process, starting with definition of the problem, forming a world view, the context in which problem exists, its environment and other products. Okay, and then visualizing this problem space, then came out with again restatement of the problem statement along with forming the design goals, then ideation with alternative concepts, and then finally coming out to one concept, and then went on to product development. But before that, there's a very nice scenario showing how the product is used, and then on to details like interface design, and then looking at the technology and getting user feedback on this. So they took children as the user group, and so they had to decide, which age group of children. Okay, they also looked at Piaget's cognitive classifications according to different age groups, and the classifications according to sensories, pre-operational stage, cognate operational stage, and formal operational stage. Okay, as the age increases. Okay, so why children? They felt designing products for children can be fun and it can be difficult. It's not that easy to design things for children because they possess an unpolluted mind, and it's an unpolluted questioning mind, and they're very ready to learn. Okay, and they also realize that there's no specific communication device which are available for children, and you have to look at children as the future. So these were the reasons they took children as the user group. Started with forming the worldview through brainstorming. They did, and if you look at the world of children, it varies between home, school and play. I think this is the three big spatial environments, okay, which influences their growing up period. Okay, and you have further categories in school. You study, you play, you make friends, you do a lot of activities, you learn. Sometimes you go to places, okay, and there are teachers who become your friends over there. And at home, of course, it's a lot of place for fun. You have your, family, the parents, and the society, which again gives you friends. Okay, and it's an environment where you're very comfortable. You both relax and work at home. Okay, so and you start making relationships. Okay, and play is a very nice, fun place. Okay, again you play with friends, you have games, and you learn strategy, right? And you can form groups for collaboration, and of course there are playful toys to it. Okay, so this is the child's world, and further categorizing it according to different categories. So let's take, for example, fun, play, learn. Okay, so these are the categories with respect to activities: fun, play, learn. Sometimes harass and play pranks. Okay, and if you look at relationships, you have parents, friends, teachers. Okay, and role models at this point of time. Of course, you have your relatives. This forms the family relationships. And what are the capabilities? They are always ready to learn about new things. In being in India, they speak many languages. There's no mindset at this age, and they always find use for new things, whatever objects they get. Okay, and if you look at one day in the life of a child, starts with home, then goes to school, there's a journey to school. At the end of the day, there's a playground. They get homework, so they bring it home and they watch cartoons, TV, play with the toys, they eat and sleep. So typically, this is the one-day life cycle of a child. And in terms of emotions, they're very frank. They have a lot of love to give. They're very playful. Sometimes they are show-offs. Okay, and they're also copycats. They're always copying something or the other. Okay, at this point of time, they also did secondary research in finding out what other objects there are for children, what others are doing in terms of actually providing opportunity for communication for children. Okay, so they looked at a lot of papers and research being done at many universities and labs. Okay, so they took that as an inspiration to see what they can do by themselves. Okay, so they said, let's go and do user studies. So they had conversations with children. Okay, and yeah, initially it was just talking to the children. Okay, and they said, let's see if I can test an interface and what kind of skills they have in navigating through it. Okay, and they also looked at children from different environments and different places. Okay, and they also try to explore what is their awareness with respect to technology. And then throughout the project, we concluded children in our team as an active team members. So they wanted them to be participative in the experience of trying to do it. So one of the first suggestions was that they gave this project, okay, try to design something for the future as, if you are a designer, and they gave this problem to 4 schools and many children, and they got wonderful feedback, but they realized that when children think of new ideas, they actually build on existing ideas. For example, in this time and period, okay, feature phones were very common, and many feature phones had the display on one side of the phone and the keyboard on the other side. So it was a foldable phone. Okay, so you can see that, and so inferences were, they were well aware of new technology, they were curious about new products. After school hours, they actually talk to each other and exchange a lot of information, and they also find use for anything that is given to them, and there's an urge to share their experience as an inherent quality with them. Okay, so looking at all this, they came out with a new product brief. They said that we need to devise something which is fun, okay, which breaks from the monotony of life, a device which could help them make new friends, a device that brings out the creativity among children, something to give them a feeling of a device that is specially meant for children, okay, a device that could help children share, learn and play, a device that should be unbreakable in the sense that should be child-proof. Okay, so that was the emerging, brief for the product. They also realized that, looking at culture was a very important part of the project, and you have both tangible, objects that are very tangible to them and they are familiar with them, but there are also intangible, medias which actually make a big difference to them. So, if you have to mention tangible ones are the toys, the storybooks, okay, the epics, okay, tables, okay, fables, compass box, games, drawings and doodles, stationaries. Okay, so this is a world for the children as much as the intangible ones like the stories, lullabies, festivals, customs, celebrations, traditional acquired skills, okay, pottery or a bit of carpentry. They also do prayers, they are riddles and puzzles. Okay, so this kind of makes up the world of the children and very much influenced by the background and the culture. Okay, and this became an inspiration and they started ideating. Many ideas, you can see they try to sketch some of them. This is how you have to brainstorm with keywords, okay, with functionalities, with trying to visualize them, and some things which actually stood for them were marbles, pet, kite and the slate, and they said that these are products which the children use, can we use them as metaphors to come out with new ideas. And they also realized a very major factor. When these students were children, they realized they actually had quite a bit of time to play. And when they actually met with the children of today, they realized that that play time has been taken over by tuition and further learning. And if you asked from the feedback, what the children said was that, wish we had a lot more fun in school, so or in the tuition classes, that would make our life much more simpler and enjoyable. Okay, that's a nice thought to it. Okay. And so now they selected the children from the different age groups. They said that let's focus around children who are around the age of 7. Okay, so that became the model, and they said that let's create a conceptual model. Okay, so if you look at children at this age, they're very egocentric, they're very possessive, and at that point of time they go around saying everything is theirs. They talk about my daddy, my grandpa, I went there, I have this, so it's always about themselves. Okay, and if you have to make these children share something, it's a very difficult option. Okay, so what are the shareable things which children do? Okay, and if you actually share something, it's also a question of building trust with the person that you share. Okay, so they ideated on this. So I said that kites are fun to play together. They thought of a jelly boy kind of thing which they can actually share with the friends. They also thought of a slate which is a memory. Okay, but after ideating a lot, they came out with something which was very interesting. They said that can we actually look at the final concept based on the concept of or the metaphor of marbles. Okay, and you look at marbles as a game itself, right, as a shareable object. Okay, you can personalize marbles because you make a choice when you buy it. They come in all sizes. Okay, and while playing a game, you lose some, but you gain some. You exchange marbles. It's quite simple to exchange marbles. Okay, this is something which happens with children all the time. Okay, colors, size, designs change. Okay, there are big marbles and smaller marbles. Okay, and you can play many games with the same marbles. Okay, so the strategy of the different games changes. the more you play, the more you learn, and you actually can become quite skillful at that. And when somebody plays marbles, others watch. Okay, so it's quite an entertaining game. They also realize that there's a very old history to the marbles. In fact, it's almost around 3,000 years old. Of course, clay marbles were the first ones to be used. Okay, and you can see that they date back quite a long time back. Okay, and in 19th century, after industrialization, it came to be mass produced, and the material changed. Okay, from clay it became, marbles. Okay, so now you get lot of marbles made out of glass. Okay, so that's a short history of the marbles. Okay, and they said that can we actually relook at the conceptual model, and what is that shareable unit? If I can actually share, replace it with marbles, and they call it as Marbo. Okay, then that sharing happens, and they can actually build this factor of trust. Okay, so this was actually conceptually the final model. Okay, so they worked on the identity for it. They called it Marbo, which is basically share your marbles. And they said, let's define some product features for it. Okay, you can customize it, you can share it. Okay, and there are units which have stories in it, which have images in it, which have learning, content in it. Okay, you can use it to invite friends. You can, it can help you to learn a language, and these are detachable. That means you can actually pass it on to your friends or share it with your other friends. Okay, and you can actually scribble it, you can doodle it, take photographs. Okay, and you can use it for collaborative learning. Okay, so if you looked at the product features itself, okay, so if you looked at this, there's a core, and many of the marbles are data units, and they can have, for example, maths class or stories or images of friends, and you can actually easily share it with your friends. Okay, so to explain how the Marbo works, they created a storyboard. Okay, and this is what we call a scenario. Okay, it's one of the prototyping techniques to basically say or show how your product works. Okay, so they did it with a storyline. Okay, and they took the occasion of the kite flying. Okay, so it's Uttarayan. Okay, and all are flying kites, on top of their terraces, and this is a bunch of friends. Okay, you can see that Ali, Pintu, Munnu, Ved, Kavita, they're all friends from the same society. Okay, and there's a new person who's come, Jugal. Okay, so he's come new to the society, and it's the day in which they are actually playing with the kites. Okay, so Ved is flying his kite. Okay, it's flying high, but somebody cut it. Okay, and he say, oh no, somebody cut my kite. So that's the way kite flying happens. Okay, so you fly a kite and somebody tries to cut your kite, or you try to cut somebody's kite. So that's the game that you play. No problem, everybody has a second and a third kite. Okay, so I have another one. This time I'll be more careful. Okay, again, he's very happy, it's flying high, but again it got cut. Okay, and then he looks and he sees Jugal making funny faces at him and laughing at him. Okay, so he says, now you see what I'll do. Okay, so now what he doesn't know actually what to do, but he says, let me call my friends. Okay, so he takes out his Marbo and calls his friends. Okay, he's Pintu, it's his friend, and he's also flying a kite, and he gets a message saying Ved is trying to contact me. Okay, and then Ved scribbles something on his Marbo saying that there's somebody who's trying to cut our kites, so can we actually join up together and cut his kites. Okay, so he said, let's also call Munnu for help. So they became triads. Okay, so there are three friends who are joining up together, and they make a plan of action how to cut Jugal's kite. Okay, so he says, okay, Pintu says, let me go first. Okay, I can see his kite. They make a strategy. I'll go left, I'll go front, so as to confuse Jugal, and in the process they manage to cut Jugal's kite. Okay, he's very surprised how 3 people flying from 3 different terraces, how did they make a plan of action? They're all on different sides, so he didn't know because he doesn't have Marbo yet. Okay, so he was crestfallen. Okay, and that's the time actually Munnu took his photograph also on his Marbo. Okay, and after the kite flying, they all gathered together and shared photographs, and they're very happy to share the photograph of Jugal, okay, also called Motu, in my marble, and you can see his photograph there, and you can see he's actually quite sad at losing his kite. Okay, then elderly person from the society comes. Okay, so kids, what are you doing? Can you actually help out today for during our cultural program in our society? Can you guys, kids can actually perform a drama. Okay, so they said, okay, let's all try to do, let's play Ramayana. Okay, but who's got the story of Ramayana, right? They had to rehearse themselves. Okay, and Kavita had Ramayana in her Marbo, and they shared it with all the friends, and they realized that there has to be somebody who has to play Hanuman, right? Now, who will become Hanuman? Okay. And quickly they sketched it, and they looked at Jugal, and he looked at the perfect candidate for Hanuman. So they went and asked him, and he was so happy to become friends with them and says, I'll play Hanuman. Okay, so all the kids were very happy. They shared the story of Ramayana, and they were very keen on doing Ramayana. Okay, and they performed the skit in the society's cultural program, and you can see all of them wearing different dresses, and they played a part of the Ramayana. Okay, and next step into could actually share all this fun with his school friends using his Marbo. Okay, so that's in short says how you can actually develop a product, and through a story and making a scenario here like slides one after another, almost like an animation film. I've just showed you one after another, told you what the story is. You can actually see how Marbo is quite an useful and an unique product. Okay, so then they went into detailing it. One of the things that you do for ideation is actually to sketch it out. Okay, you make many variations of it. Okay, so you can see the initial sketches here of the Marbo, and then into getting into details. See, these are still sketches for ideation. You can change it. They're quick sketches. Okay, they've got details. They've said, okay, these are the data units. These can store this information, that can store that information, and then make a little more detailed out of it. So from being a rough sketch here, okay, it has become a little better here with a lot more detail, and then lot more refined here, you can see. And you can see that that was low fidelity to middle fidelity to high fidelity. Okay, still you can see that things have sketchy because you want to change still. So there are menus which can come, you can press something to operate things. Okay, so they're just trying to fix how to do the interface and details of this. Okay, and of course they said that if you need to draw something, you need a pen and you need a place to put the pen. Okay, so you do further details in this. Okay, and then you can change textures. Okay, when you press and turn, the textures can change. So these are all further details, and then they did a prototype of this. Okay, and of course at that point of time, to have a surface which is curved and to put a screen on it was an extremely difficult choice. So it was hypothetical at that point of time. But even then they made mock-up models and went and got feedback from the children who had such a lot to say and talk to them. Okay, and they got very nice feedback because this was such a interesting device. They said, okay, I can detach this marble and give it to my friend. Okay, we can scribble on it. I can change the way it looks. they all said we want to have it, okay. And of course, if you ideate a little more, it's not that it has to come in one shape, you can make many variations of it to suit different tastes and different choices, okay. So you can also in the future extend the scope of Marbo to include education, constructing things, okay. Parent and child can actually make use of to build relationships. Same with the teacher, okay. School and Marbo can have a very good learning experience with that, okay. So these are the extensions that can be done, and they acknowledge the people who have supported them, whole lot of people, faculty members, their classmates and seniors, as well as the different schools and all the children who helped them with that, okay. So that's a very big thank you from Amisha, Muthukumar and Pranav, okay, for listening to it, okay. So this is a very simple case study of Marbo, okay, which is a device based on the metaphor of the marbles that you can actually share with each other, except that each unit that you share is a data unit which can have different kind of information in it, okay. And you can change it, modify it, you can add to it, okay. And it's a very playful device that goes into your pocket, and you can personalize it, okay. So there are many factors to this particular case study, okay. Hope you enjoyed looking at the case study. Thanks for listening. So this is section C11 of week 11. So let's just go through the week 11 course, okay. We've done the process with soft prototyping, paper prototyping, creating scenarios and storyboards, and you'll see that many of these played a very important role in Marbo. We did the tools for this, okay. Then we actually implemented it in the project, and you can see some of these actually as part of the Marbo, okay. And then we go on to week 12, okay, which is further, it's prototyping part 2. So we get from soft prototyping to hard prototyping, where I actually build models which are not low fidelity but high fidelity. Even sometimes you can build models which are working and functional, okay. We'll also, let's take a look at human factors and ergonomics, which makes a big difference to the usability of the product, okay. We look at the tools which are useful in implementing these, okay, and apply it in the project that you are trying to do. And then we'll have a look at another case study which makes use of many of these factors, okay. So that is week 12. So we'll look forward to it.